Hey everyone, welcome back.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leo.
And I'm Mia.
Welcome to the English Blend. So, have you ever been in an online chat, maybe on WhatsApp or Discord, and you try to type a quick reply, but your brain just freezes?
Oh, absolutely. You start thinking about the perfect verb tense or if you should use the passive voice, and by the time you hit send, the conversation has moved on 5 messages. It's the worst feeling.
Exactly. That moment of panic when you realize you need to respond instantly, but you are stuck fixing a comma. Today, we're diving into that exact problem. We're talking about English for social media and online chats, how to stop that freezing and start flowing?
We want to focus on making your English fast and friendly online. It's all about communicating, not about being perfect.
Exactly. So grab your coffee and let's get started.
Perfect. So, Leo, when we talk about online chats, we need to first talk about something fundamental, fluency versus accuracy.
That is the core issue for every learner, right?
It is. Most learners focus too much on accuracy. Accuracy means how correct your grammar is, how perfect your spelling is, and if you use the right article, a or the.
And accuracy is important, of course. We aren't saying grammar doesn't matter, but it's often prioritized when it shouldn't be, especially when you were just trying to text a quick reply to your friend.
Exactly. But fluency, that means being able to speak or write smoothly and naturally. It's about the flow. It's about getting your message out without stopping every 3 seconds to correct yourself.
In an online chat, speed is everything. If you are communicating with your boss on Slack about a quick issue, they don't care if you missed the hyphen. They care if they understood what you meant instantly.
Think of it like driving. Accuracy is knowing every single traffic law perfectly. Fluency is just being able to drive smoothly from point A to point B without crashing.
And if you stop every 5 feet to reread the traffic rulebook, you are never going to get where you need to go quickly.
Right? So, in the world of online communication, whether it's texting, commenting on Instagram, or writing a quick email, fluency must win. Communication is the goal, not perfection.
And here's where the big block happens. Grammar blocks fluency.
It really does. Why do people freeze? Because they have been taught that every mistake is a failure.
They type a sentence, and before they hit send, they review it. They mentally check the past perfect continuous, they wonder if they need a preposition, and suddenly they delete the whole message.
Oh, the dreaded deletion. It's like their inner English teacher pops up and says, "Wait, you can't use good here, you need well." And boom, 10 seconds wasted.
That delay, that internal editing process, destroys conversational flow, especially online. Online chats are meant to be instantaneous. They mimic real speech.
When you talk to me right now, you aren't mentally conjugating verbs, are you?
No way! I'm just responding naturally. I might make a tiny mistake, but you'll understand me perfectly.
That's the feeling we need to transfer to online chats. We need to accept the fact that an online chat is often draft one, not final edited manuscript.
We need to give ourselves permission to be imperfect, especially in informal digital spaces. You see native speakers make mistakes all the time online. Typos, grammar slips, they don't sweat it because they get their point across.
That's a great phrase we need to highlight, to get your point across.
When you get your point across, it means you successfully communicate your idea, even if the language isn't 100% perfect. It means the listener or reader understood the core message.
So if I text you, "Meet cafe now," instead of, "Can we meet at the cafe now?" I've still gotten my point across. It's fast, efficient, and fluent for that context.
Exactly. The speed of the response shows fluency, even if the grammar is simple or slightly clipped. You prioritized communication.
When learners focus too much on accuracy online, they often end up typing formal, long sentences that sound very unnatural in a casual chat.
They try to use vocabulary that is too complex for the situation. Imagine texting about weekend plans and someone replies using a complicated subordinate clause. It feels weird.
It does. So the key here is realizing that grammar is a tool, not a jail cell. Use it to clarify, but don't let it slow your immediate communication down.
If you find yourself constantly deleting and retyping because of grammar worries, you are actively sacrificing fluency for a potentially negligible gain in accuracy. Stop it. Just send the message.
Let me share a short story about this. Kind of a cultural note, actually. I was texting a colleague who wasn't a native English speaker, and we were planning a big project meeting.
Okay, work context, high stakes maybe.
A little, yes. I texted, "Hey, can you send the document summary by 3 p.m.?" Simple, right?
Very simple.
But my colleague took about 15 minutes to respond. When he finally did, his message was, "The document summary will be dispatched to your electronic mailing address before the clock indicates the hour of 3 in the afternoon."
Wow, that is thorough.
Right? I was waiting and waiting, thinking maybe he was in a meeting, but later he told me he was stuck trying to make the sentence sound professional and grammatically perfect.
He probably worried that send the document summary was too informal for work, even though that's exactly how native speakers talk in quick workplace chats. He was aiming for a literary masterpiece instead of a quick confirmation.
Precisely. The delay caused a communication hiccup. I thought he was ignoring me, and the overly formal language felt out of place. He aimed for 100% accuracy and missed 100% fluent communication.
That story is a perfect illustration of how grammar can become a massive internal block. It creates anxiety and slows everything down.
So how do we fix this? How do we build that mental speed? We need to talk about some practical tips.
Yes, these tips are often taught for speaking, but they apply directly to quick online writing and typing too.
Practical tip number 1, massive listening input.
This might seem strange for a texting episode, but trust us, if you want to type naturally, you need to hear natural English constantly.
We're talking about massive input, podcasts, YouTube, movies, all day, every day. When you listen to native speakers, you internalize the patterns they use.
You stop focusing on individual words and grammar rules. You start absorbing chunks of language. You know how a complete thought sounds.
For example, instead of thinking, I must place the request for the order to the supplier, you simply internalize the sound of, I need to place the order.
That's a language chunk. When you have thousands of those chunks ready in your brain, when you go to type, you don't build a sentence word by word using grammar rules. You just pull out the pre-made chunk.
It's faster. It's the difference between building a house brick by brick versus just placing a prefabricated wall. Massive listening loads up your chunk library.
And it helps you recognize the appropriate chunk for a chat. You realize that long, formal sentence from a short story isn't the chunk you should be using.
Practical tip number 2, focus on chunks, not grammar rules.
We touched on this, but let's emphasize it. A chunk is a group of words that often go together. It might be an idiom, a phrasal verb, or just a common sequence.
Like, what are you up to? That's a chunk. You don't analyze up to as a prepositional phrase. You just know it means, what are you doing?
When you learn new vocabulary, don't learn single words. Learn the phrase they live in. If you learn apologize, learn I sincerely apologize for the delay. That's the usable unit.
When you're typing quickly, if you can recall the chunk, your typing speed dramatically increases because you are typing 5 words in one mental move instead of 5 separate mental moves.
This is especially helpful for quick, common chat recalls. Talk later, gotta run, sounds good, LMAO, laughing my absolute socks off, laughing my, these are all chunks.
And using those common chunks makes you sound natural, too. It builds that friendly, approachable tone.
Practical tip number 3, the 3-second rule for typing and speaking.
I love this one. It's brutal but effective.
The 3-second rule means when someone asks you a question or you need to reply to a text, you must initiate the response within 3 seconds.
3 seconds is not enough time to access your internal grammar checker, right?
Nope. It forces you to prioritize getting the idea out. If you wait longer than 3 seconds, you are going to try to perfect the response and you lose fluency.
This training is vital for both speaking and writing online. If you're chatting with a friend and they ask, what did you do last weekend? Don't spend 30 seconds composing the perfect essay about your trip.
Just type the first true thing that comes to mind. Went hiking. It was rainy. Even if you missed the article before rainy, the communication flowed instantly.
If you apply the 3-second rule consistently, you train your brain to stop editing immediately. It learns that speed is rewarded over perfection.
And if you make a mistake, who cares? You move on. It's not the end of the world.
Another excellent phrase. Not the end of the world.
When we say something is not the end of the world, it means it's not a catastrophe, it's not a disaster. It's a small problem and you should just relax about it.
If you type, I go to store yesterday instead of I went to the store yesterday, that error is not the end of the world. Nobody is going to fire you.
Use this phrase on yourself mentally when you feel that internal panic about an error. Tell yourself, okay, small mistake, not the end of the world. Keep typing.
Exactly. We are learning to manage language anxiety in real time, especially in the high-pressure environment of instant chat.
Now, let's talk about 2 more quick tips before we wrap up the practical advice.
Practical tip number 4. Use digital shortcuts and emojis intentionally.
Online chats have their own language. Acronyms, emojis, initialisms. Use them. This is a form of highly fluent communication.
If you can type BTW, by the way, instead of the 3 words, you save time and increase speed. Same with TBD, to be determined, or LOL, laughing out loud.
These are internationally recognized communication shortcuts. They reduce the amount of English you have to type, and they convey your meaning perfectly.
And emojis. An emoji can replace an entire emotional explanation. If I just send a thumbs up, I fluently communicated yes, okay, or got it.
It's smart, fluent communication. It shows you understand the culture of the platform.
Practical tip number 5. Practice shadow typing.
This is related to massive listening.
Yes. As you listen to a podcast or watch a short video, try to type exactly what the speaker is saying, slightly behind them. That is shadow typing.
This is great because it connects your listening input directly to your muscle memory for typing the rhythms and chunks of English.
You aren't inventing the sentence. You are reproducing a fluent pattern. This builds speed without the pressure of creation.
Try doing this for 5 minutes a day with the transcripts of the English blend. You'll see your speed increase rapidly.
Okay, so we've covered getting your point across and realizing that mistakes are not the end of the world. But sometimes, even with these tips, we still feel stuck, right?
We do. Sometimes the ideas are flowing, but the words just won't come out in the way we want them to, or we get overwhelmed by a complicated task.
That's when you might hit a wall.
That's our final phrase. To hit a wall means to reach a point where you are so tired, stressed, or mentally blocked that you cannot continue effectively.
It's hitting an obstacle. Maybe you were chatting happily for an hour and suddenly you get a complex work request and you just feel like your brain stops working. You hit a wall.
If you hit a wall in an online chat, it's a sign to take a break. You can fluently communicate that block. You can type, "Sorry, I think I hit a wall. I need 5 minutes."
That phrase itself is fluent communication. It's much better than typing 3 slow, grammatically incorrect sentences for 10 minutes.
Recognizing when you hit a wall is a sign of mature language use. It means you know your limits and you communicate them clearly.
So, recap time. Today we talked about moving past the fear of perfection in online chats.
We defined the key difference. Fluency is communication and flow. Accuracy is perfection and grammar. For online speed, fluency must be the priority.
We discussed how focusing too much on grammar becomes a block, and we learned that fluency is achieved by using chunks of language, not by building sentences word by word.
Our practical tips were massive listening input, prioritizing chunks, using the 3-second rule for quick replies, using digital shortcuts and emojis, and practicing shadow typing.
And remember those useful phrases. Don't worry about every mistake. Just get your point across. If you struggle, remember it's not the end of the world. And if your brain totally freezes,
you might have hit a wall and need a short break.
The core takeaway is simple. Communicate, don't perfect. Get comfortable with being fast and understandable over being slow and theoretically correct.
Start practicing this today. The next time you open a messaging app, apply the 3-second rule and focus on speed.
That was a great talk. Next time, we are going to dive into the best ways to practice English using YouTube short videos. It's all about maximizing those micro-learning moments.
Sounds fascinating. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The English Blend. Keep practicing those chunks.
Yes, see you in the next episode of The English Blend.